Okay.
Stuart, I have a question. Stefan,
Yes, Stefan.
can you define Shakti a little bit more clearly?
Shakti is energy. It's energy from a higher source, from God, spirit, whatever you want to call it. And it's the energy that flows through one system. And as you build the kind of inner life that I talk about all the time, there's an abundance of Shakti that flows through you. And it's that abundance, that overflow of Shakti that teaches these meditation classes, that enables us to invest that energy in our lives without the Maya, the illusion of life, really draining us. So we can build a life, we can enjoy living in the world. We're not intimidated by success, by anything, because we have built a system inside of Shakti, of energy, that is strong enough to be able to live in the world and be free in the world at exactly the same time.
Is it different than prana? Is prana more towards functioning of the body? Why I ask is that
I suggest you look in some yoga dictionary of words, and you can find an answer to. Look, I don't know. So, prana is energy. Prana, the breath is prana. It's energy. That nurtures us inside, and Shakti is the energy that flows, that creates the world that we live in around us, and gives us the ability to live in that world. The definitions of these things. Look, I'm not a theologian, you know, but I do know it works.
the only reason I ask is that I had an impulse when I was really flowing with the Shakti to take it directly into the parts of my body that needed healing. Is that all right?
Yes, absolutely. That's why you're here, Steph.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Good
Thank you.
exercise is, draw the negative energy from the parts that need to be healed inside you into the third chakra, chakra below the navel. Transform that negativity into chi, into power, foundation. And as you build the system inside, you become capable of doing that kind of thing. In fact, when I do healing work with people, especially, when I do it in person, part of the healing process is drawing the negativity from cancer, from whatever it is, heart conditions, drawing that negativity right into the third chakra and transforming the negativity. And then the spirit, the Shakti, the flow comes down through the crown will replace that negative energy and begin to heal a person. I don't know if that's clear to you what I'm talking about, but
It is. Thank you. I didn't mean
very
it.
important part of healing. And I learned that on working with people, I had to protect myself. I was accumulating so much negativity from people. I thought I'd have to go and, lie down for 3 or 4 hours after. And I said, no, Stuart, there has to be a way of people being capable of healing themselves. And instead of pulling that energy into myself, I was drawing the energy into the third chakra, that negative energy, and transforming it into chi, into foundation, balance, harmony. So the person would get stronger because of what's killing them. I'll call it prana, call it shakti. Call it, I don't know what, tiddlywinks. I don't care, but that's how things work. And this is how they work, and what they're called. That's theologians' business. It's not my business. My business is to make these things work. And if you do that, it'll really help you get rid of that pain you talked about yesterday.
Thank you. That's very clear.
You're welcome. I love Rudy. It was never about theology. It was about practical use of Kundalini energy, Shakti, in order to build a connection in yourself with God. And this is why you're going to have a cup of borscht and, have a hamburger, or if you're a vegetarian, eat vegetables. I mean, it was all about transforming the things that are killing us into life-giving energies. And this is part of the strength you build in this kind of meditation that I teach. It's not that we're going to live forever. None of us are, but while we're alive, we can limit the agony a little bit. You can limit the pain, the suffering, the difficulties by knowing how to transform them. And that opens us to the most important factor of all, our connection with infinite energy, God, Spirit, Shiva, Buddha, whatever you want to call it. It opens us to that level of consciousness that then begins to feed us inside. And ultimately develops a system that's prepared to attain a state of spiritual enlightenment. I hope that's not only clear for Stefan, but for all of you, including myself, When I said today in the class this afternoon, I said, I also do stupid things, The only difference is when I was 25, I didn't know how to say I'm sorry. Now it comes very easily. I can tell somebody I apologize for doing something that was a transgression. Perfection is in the minds of the insane and the saintly. I mean that. People intimidate and destroy themselves because they have to live in some kind of perfect world, and they can't make a mistake. But making a mistake is part of perfection. Does anyone else have a question? Somebody ask a question.
I have a question, Stuart, Chris.
Yes, Chris.
Stuart, in your book, Moving On, you talk about being broken open in order to change. Would you describe more about that, please? You say
Well, yeah, the only way I can understand it really is that we crystallize in new levels of attainment. Understand, we suddenly have a higher position in our job, and we crystallize in it, not realizing that it's just another step on the ladder that leads into the cosmos and that really allows us to attain a state of spiritual enlightenment. So it's like, Rudy said to me once, he said, you go in, you're in an elevator and you can shop in haberdashery, you can go to men's shoes, you can go, and spend the rest of your life on the fourth floor.
Yeah.
Or you get in, you experience whatever you're supposed to experience at that point of your life, and you learn how to surrender it, to let go. So a new level, it becomes part of the foundation, not the entire structure of your life.
Yeah.
And I love that when I used to hear that, because I never knew how to do it, and then I learned how to do it. And my God, it's a life-saving, piece of knowledge of how to function that way. Because, a door closes, another one always opens. If you're growing, if you're not growing, then it becomes depression and unhappiness and you beat yourself up, and God knows you create hell for yourself. So that's really what that's about, Chris. It's not crystallizing.
Yeah. Getting stuck.
You see it. There's this artist. I remember I went to an exhibition in Los Angeles of fauve paintings, and there were about 5 artists that they had. I think there was Roth and Matisse and Duran and a few others. And there was this one guy who had these extraordinary, I forgot his name, Vlamink. He had these extraordinary pictures in that exhibition. I mean, they were just brilliant pieces of artistic genius. And I've always used seeing his paintings as, dark clouds over villages. He painted hundreds of paintings that were dark. And I think he finally crystallized into something that was successful, and he kept painting them, making money. And meanwhile, when he was younger, he was really he was reaching for God in his paintings. And they were extraordinary. I couldn't believe it was the same artist. Because I used to see his paintings at Sotheby's and Christie's, and there were always dark clouds over a village, with a path running through, and maybe one character is standing there, and this stuff was just genius, and I couldn't believe it when he was younger. He really was exploring the realms of his art to attain something truly connected to higher energy, God, spirit. And if you run your life that way, you never crystallize. You'll never crystallize. You'll never create, a better word, a tomb around yourself, a sepulcher that you live in.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anyone else have a question? Does anyone else have a question? Okay, thank you. God bless you all. There'll be meditation on Sunday. And, your presence, I say it all the time, but it's true. I have deep humility and a sense of gratitude to be sitting here in this position doing this with all of you. Every one of us person here is a child of God. And if they do the work on themselves, they deserve every single conceivable opportunity to attain a state of enlightenment. And being state of enlightenment is not something that you don't stop living. You have to be alive to attain a state of enlightenment. Life has karma, life has things you attract, situations, money things, relationship things. It's all part of the growth process. And it's nothing to be ashamed of or angry at, or, And it's like I told Carol Singleton yesterday, this whole problem she has. She works in a place where all these kids are all illegal and they're all freaked out. I said, well, you have to use that to get strong enough to be a pillar in the life of those children. That's a way that you can attain enlightenment in your life, by using that situation. You have training and use it to become a pillar, a foundation that those kids can rest on and draw from your strength and your inner capacity to deal with the kind of madness that's going on in the world today. Okay, thank you. Bless you. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody Sunday. Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you very much, Stuart.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you.
Night.